My girlfriend believes I slept with her sister. I was extremely drunk, and honestly, I'm not even sure whether anything actually happened or not. Before getting into it, I asked people to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to support me on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Over the past few weeks, I have been staying in my girlfriend's house. She lives there with her family, but her parents usually stay in another house they own in a different city, which is where they are right now. So at the moment, it's just her and her younger sister living there. Since I enjoy spending nights with my girlfriend, I've been staying over frequently, going back and forth between her place and my apartment. We like being together, and my apartment is small and not very comfortable, so we usually stay at hers. A couple of weeks ago, we had an argument. She went out to a party with her friends and told me she wouldn't be gone long. I stayed up the entire night waiting for her, but she didn't return until the next morning. Naturally, I was upset. I realized I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions, but I did, and we argued about it. Then the same situation happened again last night. She promised she'd only be out for a few hours. I know the parties she attends include both guys and girls. I stayed up all night again, watching random stuff on TV while waiting for her. Out of boredom and frustration, I started drinking, one glass of whiskey after another. My thoughts kept racing, wondering where she was and why she was taking so long. I worried she might not come back until morning again. Things get really unclear from here because I was completely drunk at that point and could barely walk. Eventually, I gave up waiting and staggered to her bedroom to go to sleep. I usually sleep in my underwear, so I stripped down as usual. When I got into bed, I noticed someone was already there. I assumed it was my girlfriend. Normally, I would have questioned it, but in my drunken state, I just thought she must have come back earlier and gone to bed without me noticing. I remember mumbling an apology to her, saying I was sorry for getting angry, calling her honey, kissing her neck, and then cuddling up before falling asleep. Beyond that, I have no memory. I don't know if anything else happened. I can't say for sure whether we had sex or not. I genuinely don't remember. The next morning, I woke up with a terrible headache. Suddenly, I heard my girlfriend screaming as she entered the room. She was furious, shouting, "What is going on?" I was still half asleep and disoriented, but as I became more aware, I realized I was lying in bed with her sister. We were both in our underwear, cuddling, and she was facing me. It looked really bad. My girlfriend was enraged. I tried to explain, but the situation itself made me look guilty no matter what I said. She told me to get out of the house immediately and also kicked her sister out. I have no idea where her sister went. I was in such a bad state, and my headache was so intense that I could barely process what was happening. I somehow made it back to my apartment, where I've been the entire day. I've been trying to call my girlfriend, but she hasn't answered any of my calls. I also tried contacting her sister once to figure out what actually happened, but she didn't respond either. I'm completely lost. Did I cheat? Did something actually happen between us? How could something like this even occur? I know for sure I kissed her neck, but I thought it was my girlfriend. I didn't realize it was her sister. Why was she in that bed? Why didn't she say anything or stop me? Why were we cuddling in the morning? I don't know what to do. How can I find out what really happened, or at least convince my girlfriend that I didn't intentionally cheat, when I'm not even sure myself what happened? It took me nearly a week to gather the strength to write an update. Honestly, I wasn't even planning to do it, because everything has been so miserable and my life feels like it's falling apart. Still, I'm trying to slowly put things back together. I want to warn anyone reading this that the situation is serious and difficult. I'm starting to accept that I may have been placed in a situation where I didn't have full control. I tried writing this before, but it came out confusing, so I'm rewriting it now to make things clearer. I'll continue referring to them as my girlfriend and her sister to avoid confusion. After my last post, I had completely lost contact with my girlfriend. She wasn't responding to any of my calls. Eventually, I managed to get in touch with her sister. She sounded very upset and told me that my girlfriend had kicked her out of the house, was threatening her, and refused to even speak to her. I spoke to my girlfriend's sister and told her she needed to explain exactly what had happened. I made it clear that it was extremely important because my girlfriend was not in a stable state. She was very upset, acting impulsively, and I was worried she might end up hurting herself. Her sister said she would tell me everything, but only if I promised not to tell my girlfriend. I agreed, even though I wasn't being honest. For what she told me, it seemed like she had deliberately taken advantage of the situation. She knew I was drunk, knew I believed she was my girlfriend, and used that to be with me. According to her, we did have sex. After hearing that, some faint memories began to come back, and I could just barely recall that something had indeed happened. The worst part was that she said we didn't use protection, and she was afraid she might be pregnant. Later, she took a test and it came back negative. Eventually, I managed to get through to my girlfriend. I told her the entire story exactly as I've written it here, along with the additional details her sister had shared with me. My girlfriend was horrified and completely shocked by what had happened, but she believed me. She apologized deeply for accusing me of cheating. She also said that what happened was very serious and not something to ignore or brush aside. I told her I didn't feel traumatized, but I agreed that the situation was wrong. She became even angrier at her sister for what she had done. She kicked her out of the house, and since then, her sister has never returned. My girlfriend swore she would never speak to her again, and judging by her reaction, she truly meant it. They haven't had any contact since. We've had many conversations about what happened. I won't go into every detail, but my girlfriend has been very supportive, recognizing that I was in a situation where I had no control. She suggested I consider professional help or counseling, but I insisted that I didn't need it. Still, the entire situation has been incredibly strange and disturbing. It feels unreal to think that something like this happened to me. I don't feel different, and I don't feel emotionally affected, but I'm aware that it did happen, that someone acted without my awareness or consent. It's a very unsettling realization. It took me nearly a week to find the energy to write this update. Honestly, I almost didn't, because everything has felt miserable and overwhelming, like my life was falling apart. But slowly, I've been trying to rebuild things. For 2 months, I didn't hear anything from my girlfriend's sister. My girlfriend never spoke to her again. Even though she supported me at first, our relationship was no longer the same. There was something unspoken between us, an invisible weight we both felt but couldn't ignore. She wanted to support me, but I could tell something inside her had changed. I try to focus on work and daily routines, anything that could make life feel normal again. But deep down, that sense of helplessness never really disappeared. Then, out of nowhere, I received a message from my girlfriend. After weeks of barely talking, she suddenly wanted to meet, but not just with me. She wanted both me and her sister to meet her in person. My whole body tensed as I read her message. I need to talk to both of you. It's important. I didn't want to go. Just the thought of seeing her sister again made me feel sick. But my girlfriend insisted, saying it was serious and that it concerned me as well. Reluctantly, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe, somewhere discreet where we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. When I arrived, my girlfriend was already there, sitting at a table in the back, nervously scrolling through her phone. Her sister hadn't arrived yet. I sat down without saying anything. I wanted to ask what was going on, but I could already tell from her expression that something was very wrong. A few minutes later, her sister walked in. She paused at the entrance, as if she knew she wasn't welcome. I avoided looking directly at her, but I could feel the tension immediately. As soon as she sat down, my girlfriend let out a long, exhausted sigh before finally speaking. 2 months ago, after everything that happened, I took a pregnancy test. It felt like the world stopped. My heart started pounding as I tried to process what she had just said. She looked directly at me, carefully watching my reaction. It came back positive. My mind went blank. Everything blurred. She was pregnant. My girlfriend was pregnant. But that didn't make sense. I knew we hadn't been together since before the incident. And then it hit me. Slowly, I turned my head toward her sister, and the expression on her face confirmed my worst fear. The baby is yours. My girlfriend's voice was quiet, but it felt incredibly heavy, like everything was crashing down at once. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I could barely even speak. This can't be real. How do you even know for sure? Her sister kept her head lowered. My girlfriend let out another deep, heavy sigh. She took a test. The timeline matches. You know it could be yours. I felt nauseous. My whole body started trembling. Then why am I here? I asked, my voice sharp and bitter. What exactly do you want from me? She paused, as if searching carefully for the right words. I'm not here to force you into anything, but this child, this baby, needs a father. I laughed, not because anything was funny, but out of pure disbelief. You seriously expect me to accept this? To just go along with it and pretend this is normal? My girlfriend bit her lip, and I could see the pain in her eyes. She was just as broken as I was, just in a different way. I don't know what I expect, she said quietly. I just know this is happening, and I can't handle it alone. Her sister still hadn't spoken a single word. I clenched my fists, trying to control the anger building inside me. You want child support, don't you? That's what this is really about. You're asking me to be financially responsible for something I didn't choose, didn't agree to, and barely even remember. My girlfriend looked straight at me, and I could see the truth in her eyes. Yes, that's what I'm asking. I let out another laugh, but this time it was empty. No humor, no emotion, nothing at all. Do you even hear how insane that sounds? Do you understand that I was put into this situation without any choice? I never wanted this. I never asked for this. And now you're placing this on me like it's my responsibility? She didn't respond immediately. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I don't know what else to do. I just know this is real, and I can't deal with it on my own. I pushed my chair back and stood up, my entire body shaking. I need time to think. She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. I turned and walked out of the cafe without looking back, without listening to anything her sister might have said. I needed air. I needed space to think. But one thing was already clear. My life would never be the same again. Since that conversation in the cafe, I haven't been able to sleep. My mind hasn't stopped replaying everything, especially the way my girlfriend looked at me, the way she tried to convince me that this was unavoidable, that I had to take responsibility, as if I had a choice, as if I was supposed to just accept this, as if I had to pay for something I never wanted, never chose, and now had to live with. Over the next few days, I tried to find a way out of this nightmare. I spoke to a lawyer, but he was direct and blunt. If the child is yours, you'll be legally required to pay child support. I felt like screaming. I wanted to smash something. The unfairness of it all consumed me. My life was falling apart over something I wasn't even sure had really happened. And now, on top of everything, I might have to give up my money every month to support a child that came from a night I never consented to. Then things got even worse. A legal notice arrived. She was suing me for child support. The audacity of it hit me like a punch. My vision blurred with anger as I threw the papers onto the table and dragged a hand down my face, trying to calm myself. But it didn't work. I slammed my fist into the wall, breathing heavily. Almost immediately, my girlfriend texted me, as if she somehow sensed something was wrong. What happened? I sent her a picture of the documents. Minutes later, my doorbell rang. She walked in without a word, grabbed the papers, and read them silently. Her face quickly flushed with anger. She did? She's suing you for child support? After everything? After what she did? She nearly shouted. Yes. She ran a hand through her hair, pacing back and forth, clearly furious. This is insane. It should never have gone this far. But it has. I dropped onto the couch, completely drained. I had never felt so defeated. She sat down beside me, her eyes still burning with anger. We have to do something. You can't let her get away with this. I let out a bitter laugh. And what exactly am I supposed to do? What can I even do? I don't have any proof. It's my word against hers. She went quiet. Then suddenly, her expression shifted, like she had just remembered something. Wait. I looked at her, confused. What? She stood up quickly, grabbed her phone, and started scrolling through it in a rush. Do you remember that conversation we had at the cafe? The day she admitted everything. My heart started racing. Yeah, why? She looked at me, determination in her eyes. I recorded it. I froze. You what? I recorded it. I wanted to have it documented. I thought I might need to listen to it again. And now, it could be our proof. My mind started spinning. I jumped up from the couch. You still have that recording? She nodded and tapped on her phone. A moment later, the audio began to play. Her sister's voice filled the room. Yes, I knew he was drunk. I knew he thought I was you. I knew exactly what I was doing. A surge of anger rushed through me like nothing I had ever felt before. I had to close my eyes and take a deep breath just to keep myself from exploding right then and there. This was it. This was everything I needed. I wasn't just going to defend myself against the child support case. I was going to take action against her. I was going to sue her. My girlfriend and I, we spent hours discussing everything with the lawyer. At first, he was shocked by the situation, but after listening to the recording, he confirmed that it was undeniable evidence. He explained that we could file a case against her for abuse, and if we won, she might even lose the right to demand child support. The feeling was impossible to describe. For the first time, I felt like I had a chance to fight back. And that's exactly what we did. The very next day, I filed a lawsuit against her. That's when the real battle began. The trial was long, draining, and emotionally exhausting. Every single day felt like I was being forced to relive the nightmare all over again. My life had been torn apart by something I never chose, and now I had to fight to prove the truth about something that should never have happened in the first place. But unlike before, this time I had evidence. The recording my girlfriend had made became the cornerstone of the case. The defense tried everything to discredit it. They argued that it was taken out of context, that her sister didn't mean what she said, that she was exaggerating, or that I was misinterpreting her words. But none of those arguments held up. When the recording was played in court, the entire room fell silent. Yes, I knew he was drunk. I knew he thought I was you. I knew exactly what I was doing. Her own words, clear, direct, and undeniable. Her lawyer tried desperately to minimize the impact, but there was nothing he could do. That recording was irrefutable. I looked at her as she sat there, hunched over, avoiding everyone's gaze. For the first time, she didn't look confident or in control. She looked small, shaken, and afraid. But I felt no sympathy. She had tried to ruin my life. She had put me through months of confusion and emotional torment, made me question my own sanity, and trapped me in a situation where I nearly accepted responsibility for a child I wasn't even sure was mine. She had to face the consequences of her actions. The judge didn't hesitate. Guilty. The verdict landed heavily, like a weight I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying until that moment. Guilty. Nothing could undo what had happened, but at least she wasn't going to walk away without consequences. She cried when she heard the decision. Maybe it was regret, maybe fear of what lay ahead. I didn't know, and honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted it to be over. But it wasn't over yet. Shortly after, the child was born. Despite everything, there was still one unresolved question: paternity. That uncertainty still hung over me, and I needed to end it once and for all. So I took a DNA test. When the results came back, reality finally settled in. The child wasn't mine. For a moment, I didn't know what I felt: anger, relief, sadness for everything I had gone through, maybe all of it at once. My girlfriend was beside me when I opened the envelope. She looked at the results with me, and for a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then she finally broke the silence. You never should have had to go through this. I took a deep breath, but I did. I thought about everything, the nights I spent blaming myself, trying to piece together what had happened, the times I woke up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, wondering if I could have prevented any of it. And then one thought hit me harder than anything else. If I hadn't taken that test, I would have spent years paying child support. If I had simply accepted everything placed on me, everything forced on me, I would have been living a lie. I would have been giving my money to support a child who was never mine. That realization hit like a punch to the gut. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and opened the cabinet. Inside was the whiskey bottle, the same one from that night. The same drink that had left me vulnerable. The same drink that led to everything falling apart. I picked it up, walked to the sink, and without hesitation, poured every last drop down the drain. Never again. I was never going to drink like that again. I was never going to put myself in that kind of situation again. I was never going to let anyone take away my control or my choices again. I threw the empty bottle away and went back into the living room. My girlfriend was still there, watching me. "Are you okay?" she asked. I paused for a moment, and for the first time in months, I knew the answer. Yeah, now I am. Time passed, more than I ever thought it would take. At first, moving on felt impossible. It felt like that experience had attached itself to me permanently, like I would always be defined by what had happened. But slowly, things changed. We changed. My girlfriend stayed by my side through everything. The trial, the accusations, the humiliation. She saw what I went through and chose to stay. Chose to support me. Chose to fight alongside me. Little by little, we rebuilt what we had. Even though, deep down, we both knew things would never be exactly the same again. As for her sister, she disappeared after the conviction. No one really knew where she went. It was like she vanished completely. Maybe she was running from the consequences, or maybe from the shame. But there was one thing she couldn't run from. She still had a child. Even though the baby wasn't mine, he still existed. And while I had no connection to him, I knew he deserved better than the life he was being given. At first, people only whispered about it. Neighbors mentioning that the baby cried constantly, that she would leave for hours and not come back. Then things got worse. Neglect. Carelessness. People saw her yelling at the child, treating him like a burden rather than a responsibility. Eventually, someone reported her. When social services arrived at her home, they found exactly what people feared: a filthy living space, spoiled food, piles of dirty diapers, and a baby left alone in a crib while his mother was nowhere to be found. The process moved quickly. After the investigation, it was confirmed that she was unfit to be a parent. Then came the final decision. She lost custody of her child. I found out in an unexpected way. My girlfriend sent me a message while I was at work. Just a few simple words. She lost custody. In that moment, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not at all. But there was something else. Something deeper that I couldn't quite explain. Maybe it was karma finally catching up with her. Or maybe it was simply the inevitable outcome for someone who had never truly cared about anyone but herself. Whatever the reason, she had lost everything. After that, I never heard anything about her again. Whether she tried to appeal, whether she fought for her son, I don't know. Maybe she simply accepted her defeat and disappeared for good. What I do know is that the child was placed with a foster family, people who genuinely wanted him. As for me, I kept living. Despite everything, time moved forward. Months turned into years, and with each passing day, that nightmare felt more distant. The scars remained, of course. Some things never completely fade, but gradually the constant anger stopped controlling me. The desire for revenge slowly faded away. My girlfriend and I stayed together. After everything we had been through, we learned to depend on each other in a way most couples never do. She had seen me at my lowest and still chose to stay. I had seen her strength and knew I never wanted to lose it. The trauma from that time is still there, but it no longer controls me. I've allowed myself to feel happiness again. And most importantly, I've learned a lesson I will never forget. I will never let anyone take control of my life away from me again. There was a time when I believed I would never escape this story, that no matter how many years passed, it would always haunt me, reminding me that my life had been destroyed without me having any control over it. But time passed. I rebuilt myself. And still, sometimes, without warning, that thought returns. What if I hadn't had proof? What if my girlfriend hadn't recorded that conversation? What if the justice system hadn't been on my side? What if, instead of escaping that nightmare, I had been forced to pay child support for a child who was never mine? The truth is, I only got justice because I was lucky, because there was a recording, because my girlfriend believed me and chose to stand by me. But how many stories like mine end differently? And worse, how many women go through something like this every single day and have no one to believe them? That's the part that angers me the most, because I had a chance. But how many people, how many women are thrown into that same kind of nightmare with nowhere to turn? How many are forced to accept a reality they never chose? I think about all of this when I reflect on what happened to each of us. My girlfriend and I stayed together. Our relationship grew stronger, but it wasn't easy. There were moments when we looked at each other and knew that the shadow of the past was still there, that it would never completely disappear. But we made a choice not to let it define us. She was the one person who stood by me, who never doubted me. And that meant everything. Today, we live without that constant weight hanging over us. We don't talk about what happened anymore. Not because we've forgotten, but because we've moved forward. Not because we ignore it, but because we refuse to let it control our present. As for her sister, we never saw her again. After losing custody of her child, she disappeared entirely. Some say she tried to appeal the decision, but failed. Others believe she left town and started a new life somewhere far away, where no one knows her past. Honestly, I don't care. What matters is that she didn't get the ending she wanted. She tried to destroy my life. She tried to force me to carry a responsibility that was never mine. She tried to make me believe I had to accept what happened and live with it. She tried, but she failed. And the child, he was adopted. He's growing up in a family that truly loves him, that wanted him, that can give him a better life than he ever would have had with his biological mother. Maybe one day he'll learn the truth. Maybe he won't. But what matters most is that he didn't have to suffer because of her mistakes. I moved on, but I never forgot. And what haunts me the most isn't what happened to me. It's knowing how many times this has happened to others, and no one did anything. It's thinking about all the women who went through something similar and had no proof. The ones who weren't believed. The ones who were dismissed, called liars, and forced to carry the burden alone. I was lucky. I got justice. But how many never do? That's what keeps me awake at night. That's what I'll never forget. The system fails too many people. I made it out. But what about all the ones who don't?